Hi, good morning. This is Kevin Ferreira.
And I'm Shannon.
We're coming from the WHOW facilities here in Stevens Point. It's a wonderful day in the sunshine today in Stevens Point. And we're going to talk about a very commonly occurring topic. We don't cover it as much as we should. We're talking about client engagement and how this can affect the aesthetic outcome.
Yeah, so I think the varying degree of failed outcomes is probably something that's good to talk about, only because when we look up procedures online and we see pictures or bad things, those come from the skill level of the practitioner, the machine use and things like that. And then we also have failed outcomes based on the client's participation and understanding of the procedure.
Yes, and the client engagement is really critical to the outcome. I think some procedures, client engagement can boost the outcome by 20%. And that's why we think that it's very important to educate our clients. You know, we're all about education here. We don't have to do a procedure, but it's very important to educate our clients to see if the procedure is one they want to do, you know, financially. Are they comfortable with some procedures? And are they willing to follow the post-procedure instructions? Because that's very important. For example, you know, when we do body tight, say for example, body tight on the abdomen, we think 20% of the outcome is just the post-procedural care, and as much as 90% of that is dependent on the client and what they do post-procedure.
The compliance with wearing the compression garments, compliance with just your mindset all around the procedure, the education, and how you go forward after the procedure. Are you drinking the water? Are you doing things to maintain your weight so that you're not gaining weight post-procedure? Are you exercising, moving more?
Healthy diet and nutrients. When you lost a lot of fat, it's very important to take the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. But the body tight is not the only procedure where, you know, the outcomes are very important on the post-procedure activity of the clients. That's why it's very important to look at the post-procedure instructions. Another example is, you know, a simple thing like Botox, which, you know, a lot of people do all over America. And if the post-procedure instructions are not followed, then it could be very, very horrible for the client, and then, you know, nobody is happy. Botox, we want, you know, people not to rub the area. It's important to move the muscles that were injected. If you can desist from rubbing the area, that would enhance the outcome very much. No exercise activity, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, all of those things are aimed at having the Botox set in the muscle but not be leaked from the muscle. So we don't want the blood flow going up there. That's why we don't have people go head down like when they bend over or doing strenuous exercise for those first couple of days. Nothing to press on there like hands when you lean on them, or eye masks at night, headbands, hats, things like that.
And it's very important also to keep the area clean. With any procedure where the skin is pierced or really aggravated, it's important to keep that area very, very clean. And we can segue into stuff like our procedures, like ablative procedures of the skin, name you the microneedling, the CO2 laser, the erbium YAGs, all these ablative procedures. Outcomes are very, very dependent on the instructions, and one has to look at the instructions. You know, not only the instruction of what you can do, the instruction and the amount of procedures that the particular modality entails to be effective. You know, all of that has impact on the outcome, and there are definitely quite a few patients who would come for Morpheus and agree to do 3 to 5 sessions and only do one, and then, you know, you probably hear from a friend that, oh, it didn't work on them, but, you know, they didn't give it the real, you know, effort and the real support to make it work. PDO threads, with PDO threads, the deep molded threads for lifting, we would not want our client to do any exaggerated movements or laying on them, rubbing them too much, or some activity that would cause the threads to let loose.
Like eating steak and things like that can affect the anchoring of the deep threads. And I think another thing that gets overlooked is the power of ice and elevation right after procedures. Ice for 48 hours can minimize swelling, and any bruising that's going to show up for that first 48 hours can really be minimized and even eliminated if you were doing the icing.
And as she's just said, elevation on the head, 2 to 3 pillows if you had Botox fillers. What we find with the older clients, when we do ablative therapies, they tend to swell a lot. So if they can sleep on 2 or 3 pillows, you know, that would make the post-procedure time more comfortable, and it will also aid the results magnificently.
I think one thing that's hard for all people, because for myself too, is sleeping on my back. And so when we do things like Botox, fillers, PRF gel, threads, all these things that we don't want to be laying on the sides of our face, sleeping on the back and sleeping elevated is difficult. And so those are things you have to take into consideration. Are you going to be able to do that? Can you get a different pillow or figure out a setup so you're able to do that? Because when you end up, ignoring some of these things, if you do PRF gel, for example, and then lay on it, it's going to smoosh it out and you're not really going to see the benefits as much as you would if you, were able to comply with that.
Clients has to consider all these aspects, from the cost, the procedure involved, with the comfort level of the procedure involved, the pre-procedure instruction, and definitely the post-procedure instruction, because that can impact our outcome very, very much.
Yeah, and the timeline for sticking to the number of treatments and staying on schedule with that is also a big factor in getting to the outcome that you desire and we desire.
Compliance is important not only in aesthetics, in other departments or other disciplines of medicine. It's just as important. We do wound care and we see where compliance, if ignored, it could be life or death, That's how compliance is important to the outcome. We spoke about many different type of treatments and little examples of compliance could affect the care. Another one is we have a body tone machine that increases the client's muscle mass by about 30% when used. But for example, if you use that body tone, for 3 weeks and then you get the results, if you don't exercise or try to eat healthier, in the next 2 weeks you'll lose all the gains. We talk people out of these things. I say, if you're not willing to follow up, if you're not willing to do the yards, you might as well do not use the modality. It's very important because nobody will be happy if the post-procedure instructions are not followed.
When we don't reach goals, that's a hit to the client and that's a hit to us too.
And that's a hit to our aesthetic brothers out there. Everybody will provide aesthetic care. That's a hit to them when we don't receive outcome, because there's lots of negative out there. So outcome is very, very important for us, especially in aesthetics and healthcare on a whole.
And when we go to our aesthetic things, this is a common topic, and we work really hard to temper expectations and make sure the client is doing some active listening. A lot of clients get in their head that they want that result and it's more instant in their mind than accepting the reality of that 6 weeks or 12 weeks or 3 months or 6 months outcome. And so then they have some buyer's remorse after they get their treatments done. And on our part, we do everything we can to carry them along, hold hands, and remind them of the journey and the plan and that we're here with them and that they're going to reach their goals.
As Shannon just said, the time we do the procedure, it's not done with us here at WHOW. We like to follow our clients and support them right through and encourage them to tell us any question, because some of that is solved very, very easily. That's very important on our part to make sure the outcome are achieved.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, when people can stick with the plans and the treatments and they see the outcomes, they end up having ongoing success as far as healthy lifestyles and being able to maintain it and turn their aesthetic care into a maintenance journey, and it's lifelong. Ask the questions, because we're here and we're available, and sometimes we get follow-up appointment a little while later and people will say, oh, I broke out, but in the next day or the next couple of days when we followed up, everything was a thumbs up and good. And so those are the opportunities to really take advantage of us, and whether you think it's right or wrong or supposed to happen or not supposed to happen, those are things we need to hear about so that we can better care in the future, and so that we can make sure that you have the smallest amount of uncomfortable time, smallest amount of time where you feel like, you don't like something, and we just take care of it quickly.
And great aesthetic result.
Yeah. If you have an experience that you want to talk about or share, we would be happy to engage and talk about it in the comments. Otherwise, you can find us on all of our platforms, and feel free to book consults in person or on the phone.
If you have any question, comments, we'll be happy to talk. We definitely didn't cover, all the aspects, but client engagement is very, very important, and a client should make sure that they can follow the post-procedure instructions to get the result they want to get. This is Kevin Ferreira.
And I'm Shannon.
We WHOW Aesthetics, and we meet you where you are.